will be good to start. 7, 8, 9, and 10. Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Jay Stokes of the AVIOT podcast here with another episode of AVIOT Sunday Brew. So we usually do this earlier in the day. However, Jay Random wasn't able to join us today. Usually him and I do it together. That's our other co-host for those of you who are tuning in for the first time. And we were just thrown off on our schedule, but I told everyone on the podcast episode that I previously recorded that I still haven't released yet that Jay Random recently just celebrated a birthday, which he was really excited about on our last Sunday Brew episode, and he probably wouldn't be making this one because he's coming down off his festivities. So it is what it is. We'll see you next week, Jay Random. So basically, for those of you who are tuned in for the first time, Sunday Brew is where members of the AVIOT podcast, which you should definitely check out on streaming services anywhere near you, we just talk to the audience out there and we give just some stories that are happening, some things that are on our mind, and we talk about it before the week begins. And then on our podcast, we go into more detail talking about other topics, more in a structured format. So this is very loose. So feel free to, if you want, provide some comments, to tune in and make sure you make the comments nice. We don't want any crazy stuff out there. But I wanted to start off today with talking about the WNBA because today is the last day of the WNBA season. This is the last day that the WNBA could have been pushed to. This is game 5 of the WNBA playoffs. So it's a best of 5 in a series. The teams that are competing now are the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty. And they're 2-2. So Minnesota, at the last second of the last game that happened, I believe on Friday, they got 2 points and ended up winning that game. 2 points came at the free throw line. I know there's been some controversy about how the game was officiated, but in my opinion, listen, if you're home, you're going to get more of the hometown cooking, more of the home rules. You're going to get things to go your way. It is what it is. I think tonight, since the game is going to be in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, that the Liberty are going to get more calls their way. Although I want to see a more fairly officiated game since it's the last game of the season. I have New York winning, though I do not want New York to win. I actually want Minnesota to win just because I like Nafisa Collier. Now, granted, I like Brianna Stewart on New York, and Sabrina Ionescu has grown on me throughout the season. But I will say that I want Nafisa Collier to win from on the Minnesota Lynx. Also, Courtney Williams. She's the woman with the shorter blonde hair. She dyed her hair blonde. She's on the Minnesota Lynx. I think that she's going to be a good addition to. She has been a good addition to the team, and I would love to see her win as well. So you have those storylines. Oh, hola, hey, how you doing, Matthias? How you doing? Glad you're on the show. Just feel free to chime in. Go Liberty. Kuma Lux. Nah, I'm not. No, I'm not cheering for the Liberty at all. But it would be nice if they won, because I will say that having grown up in Connecticut, I have seen. Hi, how you doing? Willa Maris. How do you pronounce it? Willa Maris Cruz. Willa Maris. Nice to see you on. So I will no. Well, I will say that having grown up in Connecticut, it would be nice to see the New York win, because it's like, even though the Connecticut Sun didn't win or go to the WNBA Finals, it's nice. Kuma Lux, I think the Liberty deserve a win. They lost somebody. It is true. I mean, if you follow WNBA history, the New York Liberty are one of the original teams that actually were in the beginning of the WNBA's inception. So they're one of the original teams. And New York has never won a championship in all of these years. Now, in contrast, the Minnesota Lynx has won a championship. They've actually won several. They won 4 when Maya Moore was on their squad. They had Maya Moore, Simone Augustus. They had a lot of great players on there. So there's that. There's that history. I will say, New York Liberty winning a championship tonight, it would be historic, and it would be a lot. I don't know if any of you followed Ellie the Elephant, their mascot. Ellie's very popular, so I know Ellie probably has some grand performance scheduled or planned in case they do win. What's my name? So I go by Jay Stokes on this podcast. I go by Jay Stokes on this podcast. On the AVI podcast, I go by Jay Stokes, just on this platform. Why streaming when you have... All right. Muhammad, let's not do that. Let's not do that. We're not gonna have those kind of comments on this platform, okay? Please say Alpha Kenny Body. What's that? Okay. Anyways, let me get back to my main point. As we recap the WNBA season of everything that has happened this year, it's been a historic season in terms of attendance. It's been a historic season in terms of the gameplay. But I definitely encourage everyone going forward to continue to support women's basketball. Women's basketball has always been great. Just because some people are tuning in right now doesn't mean that women's basketball now is becoming a great thing. Just because certain players have entered the league doesn't mean that now it's becoming this monumental league. The WNBA has always had great gameplay. I could take you back all the way back to when Kalia Copper and Candace Parker won the championship with the Chicago Sky. I could take you back to when the Washington Mystics won their championship back when Natasha Cloud was on the team. Now Natasha Cloud plays for the Phoenix Mercury. You live in Ogden. Where is Ogden, Willa Marys? Where is Ogden at? Sorry, I'm not familiar with that area. So you've had great gameplay, and I encourage everyone to continue watching women's basketball. Even college women's basketball is starting up. There are a lot of great storylines there. Is South Carolina, are the Gamecocks going to repeat in terms of getting another championship? UConn Huskies, my squad, are they going to go someplace, and will Paige finally win a championship this year around? Okay, so there are a bunch of different storylines. I've said on a previous podcast episode for the AVIOT podcast, which I encourage everyone to stream, that I actually learned how to hop step from Diana Taurasi. So Diana Taurasi, who plays on the Phoenix Mercury right now, I used to watch her growing up. I used to watch, because I watched the UConn Huskies being a Connecticut native, and I learned how to do certain moves just from watching women's basketball. So it definitely has been a great experience just seeing the game grow over these years, and that is that. What I will say too, speaking of basketball, you have the NBA season. The preseason has started up, and I know the NBA season is underway. And so one story, I'm trying to type in my notes right now so I can pull it up. One story that has been making the rounds is this individual by the name of Quincy Olivieri. So Quincy Olivieri, he played for the Los Angeles Lakers in a preseason game when they were playing the Golden State Warriors. And one thing that made the rounds, went viral, was him talking about his love and appreciation for Steph Curry, the Warriors star guard, future Hall of Famer. And he got really emotional during his press conference because he was talking about Steph Curry and how much it meant to meet him, and how Steph Curry gave him a compliment. And he really felt great about that compliment because Steph, it's like your idol. My dad watches basketball. Willa Mary, so what is your dad's favorite team? Who is their favorite team? Men, women, just specify. I could comment more on that. But so Quincy, he got emotional when talking about Steph Curry. He met his idol, and he said that Steph Curry complimented his game. And one thing that I liked when looking at the comment section for Quincy Olivieri being emotional during this time, your brother loves Steph Curry. All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, Steph Curry has revolutionized the game big time. So one thing I like is that the comment section that we're talking about Quincy, your brother likes the Golden State Warriors. Okay, cool. The comment section was praising Quincy for showing love to Steph Curry, and even though he got emotional, no one was clowning him. And I know a lot of times in society, people often make fun of men for showing their emotions, and they say, oh, you got to be a man, you got to hold it in. But I love the fact that people were congratulating Quincy for being so open, and for also just showing Steph, like giving Steph his flowers while he's alive. A lot of times we give people their flowers when they pass away, but this guy openly said, listen, Steph Curry is my idol. It was great to see him in person. He signed my jersey twice, and it's wonderful. I just love that. I just hope that society and culture is changing around just openly loving people, openly showing appreciation to people. So I love that story. Now we got to juxtapose that story with another one that isn't too great, and I just pulled it up. So Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania, there was recently an incident where a racial slur was etched into the chest of one of a teammate for the swim team. And so the student who who etched the racial slur into the other student's chest, that student, I don't know if it was male or female, but that student was actually stepped away from the school. There's no report yet on whether the other swimmer was expelled, but they know that that swimmer has left the school. And it's really unfortunate in this day and age. Well, it doesn't surprise me, but it is really unfortunate in this day and age that people are really so loud with their discrimination, their bigotry. I wish that we could start repairing this and it could go away. However, it's so ingrained in certain people and they pass it down from generation to generation that it's just the racism, the bigotry, the oppression, it just keeps continuing. So I hope that the student who had the racial slur etched into their chest, that they get the help they need in terms of support. If they need some sort of therapy, getting that. And I hope that the team supports them and supports that student and really shows that student that they're cared for. So once again, the school was Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania. If you haven't heard of that story, definitely feel free to look it up. Loosely related to sports, and kind of tying into more of a political background. Now, y'all know the election is coming up, and we have different people that are more outspoken when it comes to showing who they're supporting in terms of the election. And recently, Antonio Brown, who is an ex NFL player, him and another player, they both played on the same team at a point in time. They are openly endorsing Donald Trump. And so everyone has the right to endorse whoever they want to endorse. So it's Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. They are former Pittsburgh Steelers players. People have the right to endorse whoever they want to endorse. My issue is when celebrities are coming out and endorsing candidates, people taking that celebrity and applying it to a boo, Kumaluk, boo, okay. People taking that celebrity and applying them to a bigger demographic. Lately, there's been this whole, I guess, narrative that a lot of black men are backing Donald Trump, right? Which is actually not true. You have some black people who are backing Donald Trump, and you have people from all different demographics, all different backgrounds that are backing Donald Trump. That's cool for them. With Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, them supporting Donald Trump, that's their prerogative, but they don't speak for all black men. So for people to look at them and then say, oh, well, look at how black men are acting. No, that's Brown and Bell. That's how they're acting. That's who they want to support. That's their story. So I just hope that this storyline doesn't become bigger than what it is. It's just them. Allow them to be in their own space. They're just doing what they're doing. Now, we look at that and we go to the other camp, the Democratic Party. There's also been a storyline that's come out there that's been controversial as well. Kamala Harris, I guess her team has put out a campaign, I guess, video. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this Pop the Balloon or Find Love show, but basically the campaign video is kind of mimicking that style. And you have a bunch of women, a bunch of black women who are lined up, and this black guy is there. And he's listing out his qualities. So basically on Pop the Balloon or Find Love, a person comes out, they could be a man or a woman, and they come out in a group full of men or a group full of women. And they list qualities about themselves, or they just come out and present themselves as is, very raw, very vulnerable. And if the people who are lined up don't like that person, they all have balloons in their hand, they can pop the balloon. And the pop the balloon means I'm not interested in this person. Okay, so that's some background. You can look into it if you want. I've only seen really clips of it. I haven't followed it fully to see everything that's happened regarding that show, but the clips are ridiculous. You see how superficial people can be. So in this commercial, you have the guy, he comes out and he's listing qualities about himself. He's saying he's 6'5", I guess he has a good paying job, all this stuff. And the women that are in the line with their balloons, they seem very intrigued. And so then one woman asks him, she asks, so who do you plan on voting for, or do you plan on voting? And he says, no, I don't really plan on voting during this election. And then all the women pop their balloons as if to say, we're not interested in this guy because he's not voting, he's not educated. And so that's the commercial. There's been some controversy surrounding it because people are saying, oh, Vice President Kamala Harris is pandering. Oh, she's trying to do this for black folk, da-da-da-da-da, and it's not fair. What I will say is this. I have to give Vice President Kamala Harris and her team the benefit of the doubt here because There are a lot of people that actually watch that show, Find the Balloon or Pop the Balloon or Find Love, and they find it very interesting. What I think is it's a witty way of Kamala Harris's team trying to reach every demographic possible. And they're trying to reach those people who watch that show because it is pretty popular. If you look, clips are being tossed around on Pop the Balloon or Find Love all the time. If you look, people are having dialogue about how superficial a lot of the candidates are in that show. So I think that it was a witty way of saying, all right, well, this is something that's trending. Let's try and put a campaign in there. It'll get people talking. If people want to take it negative, they can. And I guarantee you, some people might have found it funny and it might remind them, oh, well, I have to go vote. All right. I think that was the meaning of that. I don't think that was harmless at all. I understand people have issues with politics. They have issues with different politicians that are up. However, I think that more objectivity is needed when we are criticizing these different candidates. And that's on both sides. That's for former President Donald Trump and for Vice President Kamala Harris. There's that. So speaking of Kamala Harris, today is her 60th birthday on October 20th. So wishing a happy birthday to Kamala Harris. You know, I stand up for my Libras. My cousin, Jay Random, he's a Libra. I gotta shout out my Libras on that one. So definitely happy birthday to her. Happy birthday to all the Libras out here. Any day, any year around the sun where you can celebrate a birthday, it's definitely a big deal. So I'm definitely all for people celebrating their birthdays. Make sure you do it safely so it's not your last birthday. Make sure that you do it safely and you can continue with birthdays going forward. So those are pretty much the topics that I had to talk about today. I knew it was going to be sort of a quick show just because it's just me. Normally it's Jay Random on. Regarding the podcast, the AVIOT podcast, which all of you I encourage to stream, we have an episode that I'm working on. I was supposed to release it on Thursday, but what happened was I found out don't quit your stream. Don't quit this stream, Willa Marys, or don't what do you mean by that? Could you explain? But regarding that podcast episode, I was supposed to release it on Thursday. However, there was an issue with my audio. So I had to go in and re-record a part. And so just kind of figuring out that has been a little bit of a headache. And so when I fix that up, I'll be able to release that today. And then I had another podcast episode that I wanted to do recapping my trip from Portugal. And don't quit this. Don't quit this stream. Well, Willa Marys, there's not a lot of people coming in and giving me items to talk about. If I had more items to talk about, then I would stay on longer, but I only had a handful that I had covered. If I had Jay Random on my other co-host, it'd be easier to flow and extend this. Usually we have this Sunday, AVIOT Sunday Brew, we have it until maybe like 45 minutes. That's usually our thing. We cap on 45 minutes, but I don't know if I'll be able to extend this all the way to 45 without boring people, whoever decides to listen. But going back to the AVIOT podcast, I was going to do another episode talking about my trip from Portugal and how that was my ultimate takeaways from that. I did the last podcast episode that has been out was talking about my trip from Ghana, and I encourage everybody to definitely listen to that episode. I thought it was cool. It's just me on there, and then the other episode I'm releasing today. So outside of that, I hope that everybody enjoys the WNBA Finals. If you're watching it, if you're paying attention to sports, that should be what everyone is watching today, the WNBA Finals. If you decide to watch sports, that's what you want to watch. I'm going to Puerto Rico in 4 weeks. Oh, really? Well, Marys, I've actually never been to Puerto Rico before. What are you going for? A trip, visiting family? What are you going to Puerto Rico for? Yeah, I've never been to Puerto Rico. I'm interested in going just because I would love to see the culture there. Puerto Rico has such rich culture, especially when you look at the mixing of the different people that have been there. You had the Taino natives that have been there, and then you had Africans that were brought over there. You had Europeans that came there, and you have this blending of culture. Oh, a trip, Willa Marys. That's nice. Well, I hope you have a great trip to Puerto Rico in 4 weeks. We'll be doing this broadcast every Sunday going forward. We usually try to do it at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So feel free to come in if you have any topics to talk about, Willa Marys. Definitely will cover it whenever I have Jay Random back. If it's just me, I'll definitely cover the topics. Yeah, this is the whole purpose of this, is to just build community and to have nice discussions about different topics that are out there. This is a part of media, and I feel that if people want to just, if they want to vent in a healthy way, they could vent, and we'll talk about different subjects. If you want to bring up a matter that may not be covered much in media, that's something we can talk about here. So that's the point of this. But we definitely will be doing this every Sunday. We will try for 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If something comes up, usually there's an announcement made on this YouTube channel. If not, then we'll we'll figure it out. But we will definitely be coming up. So in 4 weeks, hey, 4 weeks is a long time. But if we don't hear from you again or anything, definitely enjoy your trip. Puerto Rico, that's somewhere I definitely want to go. I know my wife has been there before. I've known people who have gone there before, and they have pleasant things to say about the area. But I definitely want to go. I wonder if Puerto Ricans, they're good at mask carving. That's one thing I like doing when I go to predominantly black areas, or I'd say even areas where natives are, or when I was in Mexico, I tend to get mask carvings. So I have a carving now from Bahamas, Jamaica, Ghana, St. Kitts, Mexico, because I got that. I think it's a Mayan carving, and so that's 5. I have one from, where's the other place? Belize. I have one from Belize, and I would love to get one from Puerto Rico. So whenever I go to Puerto Rico, I'm definitely gonna go around and see if I can get a mask carving. I want to make a whole collection of them, and it's just cool. Like, everybody has their thing that they get when they travel. Like me, it's masks. And if I can't get masks, I try to get something that's more, I guess, native to the area. Like in my Portugal trip, I'm gonna talk about this on my podcast. I got a rooster. So I got like a rooster figurine, and I also got something that's made of cork. I don't know if you know, everybody knows out there, but Portugal is actually the largest producers of cork in the world. So the cork, like if you ever popped a bottle of champagne, there's cork. That cork might have been produced from Portugal. We don't know. But I know that Portugal's the largest producer. So they make different things with corks. They make bags. I got a glasses case made out of cork, and that was really cool just to see the different products that were made. So I'll talk about that more on the podcast. But with that being said, it's been great speaking to you all. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. I think I held my own. Okay, 22 minutes. It's pretty good, pretty good. And we'll see you next time on Sunday Brew, AVIOT Sunday Brew. But make sure to tune into the AVIOT podcast, AVIOT, on a streaming service near you. Support us. Let's build community. Thank you, Kumalex. And I'll see you.